You think WWE Raw was just another night? No, this was a warning shot. Because when Stone Cold Steve Austin shows up backstage and the room goes quiet, somebody is about to get verbally buried, and this time, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed were standing in the blast zone. And here's the part that should make you angry: neither of them backed down. Picture the tension: no music, no crowd pop, just steel walls, cameras shaking, and two monsters who've been tearing through Raw like it belongs to them. Bron Breakker, pacing like a caged animal. Bronson Reed, calm but dangerous, knowing exactly how much damage he can do. Then Stone Cold walks in, no smile, no nostalgia tour, just that stare that says, "I built this place." Quick question for you: when Stone Cold steps into your space, do you listen or do you test him? Because Breakker didn't listen. He smirked. And that alone flipped the entire segment on its head. Stone Cold didn't come to hype the future. He came to check it. He talked about respect, about earning your spot, about how Raw doesn't need bullies who think power replaces heart. And right there, you could feel it. This wasn't advice. This was a line in the sand. Bronson Reed tried to play chess. He talked size, impact, how Raw needs destruction, how fans pay to see rings shake, not speeches. And honestly, was he wrong? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Do you side with Reed's destruction or Austin's discipline? Stone Cold fired back with something that hit harder than a stunner ever could. He reminded them that everyone thinks they're unstoppable until they're not. Until the locker room decides you're a problem. Until the fans turn. Until the machine that made you decides it can replace you. That's when Breakker snapped. He stepped forward, too close. The camera caught it, that jaw clench, that wild look. And for a split second, it felt like history was about to repeat itself in the most chaotic way possible. No punches thrown, but don't get it twisted. This was a fight, a psychological one. Ask yourself this: was Breakker showing fear or dominance? Stone Cold didn't flinch. That's the part people keep overlooking. Legends usually soften with time. Austin didn't. He stared Breakker down like he was just another loud rookie in a long line of loud rookies. And then he dropped the real bomb, telling them that Raw doesn't belong to monsters who take shortcuts. It belongs to those who survive the grind. That hit Bronson Reed differently. You could see it. The confidence wavered for half a second. And that's all it takes. Because when doubt creeps in, chaos follows. This confrontation wasn't about nostalgia. It was about control. About who defines the future of Raw. Stone Cold represents the past that refuses to be erased. Breakker and Reed represent a future that doesn't ask for permission. So here's another question for you: if this turns physical later on, who should WWE protect, Stone Cold's legacy or the monsters they're building? Because make no mistake, this wasn't a one-off. This was a spark. And sparks on Raw turn into fires fast. Share this video if you felt that tension. Comment if you felt that anger. And stay locked to Ring Rumble, because if Stone Cold just lit the fuse, the explosion is coming next. And here's what really should bother you: this confrontation didn't end with closure. No handshake, no respect nod, no classic Stone Cold punchline. It ended unfinished. And in WWE, unfinished business is the most dangerous kind. The camera lingered after Austin walked away. That silence? Deafening. Bron Breakker didn't move. Bronson Reed didn't laugh it off. They stood there, stewing. And if you know anything about Raw's history, you know that when men like that are left unchecked, they don't cool down, they explode. Ask yourself this: when was the last time two rising monsters were openly challenged by a legend and didn't immediately get humbled? That's the shift. WWE isn't presenting Breakker and Reed as students. They're presenting them as threats. And Stone Cold calling them out wasn't to teach them, it was to see if they'd break. And honestly, they didn't. That should scare you. Because after Austin left, Breakker finally spoke. Low voice. Controlled. He said Raw doesn't belong to ghosts. It belongs to killers. That one line alone flipped the entire power dynamic. No yelling, no disrespectful screaming, just confidence. The kind of confidence that gets people hurt. Bronson Reed backed it up in a different way. He talked about weight, gravity, about how legends fall just like everyone else. And whether you like it or not, he's not wrong. WWE history is full of icons who stayed too long. So here's a question you need to answer honestly in the comments: is Stone Cold protecting Raw or protecting his legacy? That's where the anger sets in for fans. Because half of you want Austin to stunner both of them into next week. And the other half knows that if he does, WWE undercuts everything they're trying to build. This is the tightrope WWE is walking, and one wrong step could ruin months of momentum. And let's talk about the locker room, because you know they were watching. Every superstar backstage saw that moment. They saw Breakker stand tall. They saw Reed refuse to back down. That sends a message louder than any promo: the old rules don't apply anymore. Quick trivia for you: drop this in the comments: who was the last WWE legend to successfully put over the next generation without losing their aura? Exactly. It rarely happens. which makes this situation even more volatile. What makes this confrontation genius is that nothing physical happened, yet everything changed. Stone Cold didn't need to throw a punch. His presence alone tested them, and they passed. Or did they? Because here's the twist nobody's talking about. Stone Cold didn't look angry when he walked away. He looked curious, like a man who just found a real challenge. And that should terrify Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed more than any threat. If Austin decides to get involved again officially, this stops being a promo war and becomes a legacy-defining moment. Either the future proves it's unstoppable, or the past reminds everyone why it still matters. So answer this before you leave: should WWE let this boil until it erupts, or are they risking burning Raw down completely? And the deeper you look at this, the more uncomfortable it gets, because Stone Cold didn't show up to Raw by accident. WWE never brings him in without a reason. That's what should have fans arguing right now. Was this a test? A warning? Or the first chapter of something way bigger than a backstage confrontation? Think about how rare this is. Stone Cold doesn't confront just anyone. He didn't step up to random mid-card talent. He walked straight into the territory of two men WWE clearly sees as wrecking balls for the future. That alone tells you everything. This wasn't about nostalgia. This was about pressure. Here's a real question for you: why would WWE risk Stone Cold's aura unless they truly believed Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed could survive it? And survive they did, but at a cost. Because now expectations are sky high. Breakker can't afford to stumble. Reed can't afford to cool off. The moment you stare down Stone Cold and live to tell about it, every fan expects dominance. Anything less feels like failure. That's where this gets dangerous. Bron Breakker especially looked like a ticking time bomb, not reckless focused, like someone who's been waiting his entire career for permission to stop holding back. And Stone Cold poking that nerve. That wasn't accidental. Austin knows exactly what kind of fire he was playing with. Another quick one for the comments: do you think Breakker is being built as the next top guy or the next uncontrollable problem? Because there's a big difference. Bronson Reed's role here is just as important, and honestly, he might be the wild card. He doesn't talk like someone chasing approval. He talks like someone who knows his value, size, impact, finality. And when someone like that feels disrespected, they don't rush, they calculate. That's what makes this duo so unsettling. One is explosive. The other is inevitable. Stone Cold represents rebellion, but rebellion with rules. Breakker and Reed, they represent chaos without apology. And here's the part that should make fans furious: WWE hasn't picked a side yet. They're letting this sit, letting tension build, letting fans argue online, letting the locker room wonder who's really in charge. Because once a legend confronts the future and walks away without a winner, the entire hierarchy feels unstable. Answer this honestly: if you were a superstar backstage, who would you be more worried about crossing right now? Exactly. This is how you build real stakes. No title required, no match announced. Just ego, pride, and control. And if this ever spills into the ring, it won't just be about winning, it'll be about erasing doubt. Stone Cold knows that. Breakker feels that. Reed thrives in it. So before you click away, I want your take: should this stay a verbal war, or do you want to see it explode on Raw? Drop your answer. Share this if this segment got under your skin. And stay locked into Ring Rumble, because when the past challenges the future, the fallout changes everything. And if you're still not convinced this is bigger than one segment, look at how WWE framed it afterward. No recap joke, no light commentary. They replayed it seriously, slowly, almost uncomfortably. That's WWE telling you, without saying a word, pay attention. This matters. Because when Stone Cold Steve Austin chooses words over fists, it means the consequences are coming later. Think about the timing. Raw is in a phase where dominance is being redefined. Championships feel unstable. Alliances feel temporary. And right in the middle of that uncertainty, you drop a legend into a volatile backstage environment and let him challenge two men who don't fear history. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. Here's something small but important: did you notice Stone Cold never raised his voice? That's terrifying. Anger would have been easy. A stunner chant would have been cheap. But he spoke calmly, like a man who's already survived every storm they think they can create. That kind of confidence either humbles you or drives you insane. And Bron Breakker? He looked like it did the latter. This is where fans split, and I want to know where you stand. Do you think Breakker is being groomed to surpass legends or to destroy the idea of legends altogether? Because the way he stood there wasn't respectful defiance. It was ownership, like he already believes Raw belongs to him and everyone else is just passing through. That mindset creates stars, but it also creates enemies. Bronson Reed, on the other hand, feels like the inevitability WWE doesn't talk about enough. He doesn't need to be loud. He doesn't need approval. He just needs space. And when someone like that gets challenged publicly by a legend, it doesn't light a fire, it sharpens a blade. That's a scary combination. What Stone Cold did, intentionally or not, was validate them, not praise validation. By confronting them, he told the world they're worth confronting. That alone elevates their status. And if WWE plays this wrong, Austin becomes the final obstacle instead of the measuring stick. Quick question answer without overthinking it. If this leads to a match, should it be competitive or one-sided? Because that decision changes everything. This angle works because it forces fans to choose. Are you loyal to the past that made you love wrestling? Or are you ready to let the future tear it down and rebuild it in something meaner, heavier, and less forgiving? There's no safe answer. And that's why this works. Stone Cold walking away wasn't weakness. It was patience. And patience from someone like Austin is often the calm before chaos. Breaker and Reed didn't win that exchange, but they didn't lose it either. They proved they belong in the same conversation. And once you're in that conversation, there's no going back. So I'll leave you with this final thought and drop your answer in the comments. When legends stop being untouchable, does wrestling get better or does it lose part of its soul? Share this if this segment stuck with you. Argue in the comments. And stay right here on Ring Rumble because this story is far from over, and the next chapter might not be verbal at all.